It is the morning. Sunday morning. It's a grey day. It's December the 15th. And I'm going to be talking to my friend Elphie and establishing some facts of the information I've been uncovering. I've been writing, allowing her information to come through. That's actually how I write generally when I'm writing books. And I won't say anything more, but later on I will be commenting. And then part of this video will be a conversation I had with my friend Yvette Stables, who is a New Zealander of very expanded psychic awareness. She travels to all sorts of places across universes, past and present, finds people's spirit guides, all kinds of exciting stuff. So we just did a little work together too. And that conversation will be in this video as well. So I'm going to go straight in and see if I can connect to Elphie, who's been aware of me all morning. So telepathy is real. It's an intention focused allowance. It's those two things. So like the focus is the tight bit and the allowance is the open bit. Women are good at that stuff. I shan't say any more about that. Right. Probably already said too much. There we go. Okay, so here we go. I command my spirit, my full soul self, come towards me, come around me, come surround me, that I feel absolute connection, support, so that I can receive and converse with clarity, with intelligence, with integrity, with love, with full connection to source, prime creation. And on the count from 10 to 0, I feel that embodied, and I call towards me Elphie. Wow, Elfiesenstein, she still likes that name, I like it. So that we can converse. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wonderful, thank you. I'm starting to feel your signature, Elphie. That last time you gave me that kind of body bump, vibrational body bump, alerting me to your presence. I thought that was interesting. So I'd like to talk to you about the things I've been discovering in the last week. So first of all, let's start with a big old one, which is, are you the ant people? You're a group of them. Are you fairies? We've been called so many names. That's why the elf fairy pixie gnome thing. Yes, okay. So are the inner earth beings of many diversity those beings that in our European cultures we've called fairies? Is this the correlation, or is there a little bit more to it than that? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There's mostly a fairly direct correlation between the species and us. You can imagine over stretches of time and distance, geography, that different names have arisen. So we are called the ant people because of our antenna, the way we have this. Just like the American Indians know that hair is their antenna, so do we, but we just reinforce this plot. And yes, the nose being long, you see that in some of your Lakota people too. But we have certain facilities to enable us to breathe in the places where we breathe, whereas you have that to enable you to breathe where you breathe. It is a shape form. So Elphie, I've been listening to some of JP's work with Dr. Michael Sala. And that's also because of my friend speaking with him recently. And he seems to be corroborating everything that I've been seeing. Can you comment on this? Thank you. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The ship, the craft, the technology you were asking about. Yeah, it's important you understand the revelations more and more towards yourselves, showing our presence, our knowings. And yes, we've been talking for a long time. Those various appearances of light bulbs, that was just us. It's only just recently you've decided to start investigating it. I suppose it's your cameras and your synapses forming together. Why we appreciate you. And we appear in these forms now that you are visibly seeing us, whereas before you were feeling and knowing. So yes, let's get to the Zog books that you wrote back 2011 onwards. We were behind that inspiration with you. You've always been drawn to us, the inner earth planes, as you know, since a child, you've always had that. This is always something sustaining you. And your books were containing information of us. Some of the pictures you can show your audience here to show them. Our aligned manner, our stewardship of the nature of Earth, our deep understanding of connectivity, ecosystem, and divinity is something you've embodied all your life. And this is why you are doing what you are doing. You're living this medicine. That is a course that is part of this experience in your holistic sense of awareness, passing on your knowledge to others. The sound work, using the body to human reference framework to effect change. These are all your possibilities. And you've been passing them on, and now we have come to support you. We've come to support you in this transitional phase. Sometimes hard, isn't it, when the words come through at the same time. And we are going to be accompanying you as you march out with your information to inspire those who have serially forgotten, many interruptions from many sources. So what would you like to know? So Elphie, this is lovely. I received some writing with you recently on Thursday. And I would like to just check over the content, whether you agree that that was accurate, what I wrote down. Good. Well, I will read that out a little bit later. Great. The information, the other chunk of information describing the release systems of the sacrificial sites, are you content that that contains sufficient information and describes the process and how humans can get involved in this? Yes, good. Okay. Now, is there anything else you would like to bring through at this time so that I can alter? I think I've answered all my questions I had of you. Yes, good. That's a good one. The scale thing. Right. So as other friends of mine, now new friends, have been seeing images, I've recognized, that looks like you. That looks like you, Elphie. You and your friends. The craft. Can we talk about the craft a little bit? Scout ship, scout craft, interdimensional outphasing. You are in an energy body frequency system generated by what you're holding on the vehicle itself holds a frequency. This is the sphere orb system, a field, a frequency field. And you are out on scouting exhibitions. How many of you are in these vehicles? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, up to that many, right? I like it. Oh, Pussycat wants to go outside. I love this tech. I mean, this idea of flying bikes is really fun. I want one. Are we going to be able to share this kind of technology? Are we going to be able to reproduce this? Eventually, when the transference comes through, you need to have higher levels of energy output to, let's say, comprehend, transfer, specify this system. The frequency of, let's call it electricity, for want of a better word, that we use for our shields to move us through dimensionally. These are what you do not yet possess knowledge of. Sort of some of the Tesla breakthrough information is in this. You will have them relatively soon. You knew that with your books. You called them flyers, and they were like little, they were like a little bit like our vehicles, if you think about it. Except you drew them as circles, but in your mind they were flown by individuals or groups. So small local flyers, yes, you will be having these. I like it. All right. Now, how about something that I could ask you? How much do you know of the geopolitical struggles? Are we entering this phase that we hoped for, so many millions of us who were aware of awakening, that there will be this sense of ease, the ability to do where our passions lie, the ability to be closer to nature, to love it, to live in harmony with, and not be oppressed by strategists attempting to take all the power for themselves and squeeze us out. How is this progressing? It is progressing. There are lines. There are lines at work. Any more? Can you say any more about this, Elphie? There is more to say, but we'll do this at another time. You must formulate some questions first of specificity. All right, that's cool. Anything else that we should discuss? Yes, just enter this information into the mind of the people that the size and the scale is to do with the emergence into the dimension. You will explain this when you share your work with Yvette with the 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 dimensional field breaks, the blue and the green you saw. These are the dimensional field breaks. Now explain quickly, Elphie, one more thing though, important. If there are humans who can enter your realm, just by literally somehow tripling across your doors and coming down your stairs. How are they able to cross these barriers of dimensional reality? Because what we, again, it's as though we come up with two different stories. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There are barriers. There are barriers of awareness and awakening and vibrational fields, yes. And that is why those people who did visit us were chosen for their facility, their flexibility of cellular structure and of mental acuity. They had some kind of purity within them, that the ability to move and morph was inbuilt. And yes, that's why also they wore their suits, which were, let's say, enhancing their ability to perceive and receive signal. A zipped up charge, their hearts could take a higher pressure, their hearts could take a different fluctuation, intensity of energy. Again, let's use the word electricity for want of a better word. But there are transitions and there are transmission interference systems. This is why it is sometimes difficult to access our information. It is deliberately done from our side and also from other sides. Sometimes there is a block for a good reason and for a bad reason, and you're experiencing currently a mixture of the two. However, your telepathic connection is very clear now, and you may summon us, as your joke with Mr. Jeff, about these. Can you call them? Yes, you can in your mind. You can call us. We may not always be there at the end of a camera lens. Okay, Elphie, one more question then before I get on to explaining what I've received to my lovely audience here. Is the idea of the camera can see you, but I can't. Can we talk about that? Are we going to be able to see with the eyes? The eyes start to, okay, come in quickly, cool, okay. The eyes start to perceive, and the eyes perceive in a way that causes you to fetch your camera. You've got to remember the intuitive guidance alert system that you have already is activating your eye to perceive something which then says, get the camera. So it is a facilitating between technology and your eyes, which are not yet accustomed. Although those sparks, you did ask about the sparks around you that you've been seeing for a long time. And that is on this frequency level, the frequency spark that you see of a thought of yourself or another. This is that sort of level, and you're tuning into it more. It's just that you are used to tuning one way and not the other way. It's like your right vision, left vision, right brain, left brain, those games that you play where you see one thing when you focus with one eye and one when you focus in another way. You have the roundabout focus, the soft, relaxed focus, and you have the pointed focus. Two different systems which will bring you two different visions. It's natural. Just go with it for now. This is just the current field. And continue the work you do when you work on it, on the lines of energy. Continue propagating. You have two current schemes you need to explain to people. The one is the release and the transference of atmosphere, transference of soul, release of soul, shifting of atmosphere. And the second is to repair and to nourish. Repair and nourish natural systems. And the first one is repair and nourish earth and soul spirit systems. Thank you very much, Elphie. Is there anything else you'd like to say? It's kind of fun the way you're making my body rock. It's nice. Anything else that we can talk about directly, or otherwise I'll just go on to reading what you wrote. I would suggest that you can add in bits if I read out loud and there is missing information, just add it in. That would be a marvelous thing to do. All right. Thank you very much, Elphie. And I shall open my eyes. Thank you. All right. Great. So I might get my iPad because sometimes it's easier not to read from the screen if I'm looking at the camera and to read from the iPad. Which one do I start with? Okay, so this one is about the nature, what they do, the details of their nurturing work, let's call it that. And I'm used to, as I said, you heard that, I'm used to tuning myself to receive information. So my children's books, Transmissions from the Planet Zog, Milo and Teal, as book 1, 2, and 3, they were written as a result of a radio show I wrote, which was a result of just an impulse to bring forth information. My PhD in 2000 was about sustainable development and children. So stewardship of the earth has long been my theme, always been my theme. So it was just one thing led to another. And those Zog radio shows, they were first broadcast on Lucky Star Radio, and they were 1-hour shows. And then I moved from there to Glastonbury FM, which was an actual radio you could tune to, on a radio dial, whereas Lucky Star Radio was just like a podcast, essentially. And they still exist, the transmissions from the Planet Zog on Lucky Star Radio somewhere, but I find it really hard to find it in their system. Glastonbury FM, I'm not sure. But I had those radio shows, and from that I decided to put it into book form to reach children. I felt that children would benefit greatly from this. It was right on cue for them. I like to keep my finger in all the children's books and see what's going on. And course, because I was a child myself, so were you. There is that. And then I had my children. I was working with children, so I knew that it was information that they would love. Of course, getting that published by an established publisher impossible because it wasn't on their transhumanist agenda. And all the big publishers are held in that grip because of who owns them, who pays for their daily bread. So, of course, it was an independent publishing that I did. But you can see how one thing has led to another. Even my cute little children's book, a board book for small people called Clepsydra Turnabout and the Upside Downers. All right, so I will read out from this. So Elphie says, she's answering my telepathic questions here. You want to know whether we are real fairies or members of the elven inner earth civilization? Well, some of this you know. Elves retreated to the planes of inner earth after the major destructions took place above in the heavens and upon the surface. They folded themselves into a dimensional reality not accessible by yourselves. In that, they continued to flourish and multiply, but entirely separate from your earthly civilization. We are a part of that. Have you heard of the ant people? The Hopi speak of us. We are that. The antennae on our heads indicate this. Small, yes, and larger now too. We come in a few shapes and sizes, and we move across the barriers. The fae, gnomes, pixies, fairies, we bear those names. Now open your mind a little more. We're trying to bend it open to let you see more of what we are and how we work. A transitional reality such as you are currently living in bears multiple points of entry for us. We enter your world through the cameras you now hold in your pockets. They're able to see what your eyes have been trained to ignore. The tremors of spring, when all that was asleep, sap, leaf, root, bud, and blossom, they come rising back up through the twigs. Well, we mess with that. We mess with the winds, the air, with the waters, the rain, and with the soil populations. We create the atmospheres needed for the plants to grow. Think of your work as an adult parent. Your job is to provide the nourishment for your children, which they need: food, clothing, warmth, interesting situations to challenge their intelligence and physicality, and the great warm blanket of love. With that given, your child flourishes. Take that away, and they wither and die, first emotionally, then physically, through disease and neglect. Well, You may hold that a gardener is the one providing for the plants in your world. Well, yes, indeed, they do. But how many acres of land are managed by gardeners? How many billions of acres are left in their natural state? That is where we work. You may come to feel, and some of you see us in your gardens or in your farms, if you treat the soil lovingly. We will show you how delighted we are at your sensitive choices. In the farms where the animals are still treated with love, we will accompany the farmers, whispering encouragement when they apply a natural fertilizer or stroke their cows and whisper sweet songs to them. And those farms may prosper and be valued by all who obtain their food from them. I'm just marking, I have another big chunk of information on what Elphie said on farms and our food. So we carry on. And then we have the wilds, the moors, the heaths, the forests, the marshes, the mountains, and the inaccessible valleys. There we dwell and work quite openly, with animal and tree and plant and soil. We are saddened by the false winds which play across your world, the false waters which fall, and the false seeds which are set to grow. We rail at these, and we seek minds like yourself to open windows into a better way of doing things. Now is the big turbulence. The world is turning over. The scrum to hold the power and the souls is very real. We are seeking to return to a more open management of the processes of nature, just as many of you seek to return to your full selves. There, where there was once a dance between fae and folk, a wall of resistant anger has been placed. People are angry, even when you mention us. As you've seen recently with your video appearance, many loved what you had to say. Many were challenged and sought to bring you to ridicule, fearful for maintaining their own sanity in the world gone mad. Science, the big trap of fearful minds, eager to comply with everyone else, too afraid to speak out. What we do when we do is bring things together. We monitor the soils. When we need new supplies, we call in the insects and arthropods. With their chitinous composition and color, each brings a different mineral compilation to the soil when their small bodies die and decay. We can attract from a distance small herds of these beings to populate specific areas. We are balancers of this complex population. To water, we communicate as a living sentience. We know what capacity water has to store and bring information from place to place. We read the balance of the structure of the water to know where populations of specific beings are, to read the chemical balance of pH and minerals in each place. This is our work. And our work direct with plants, with their growth and spread and harvest of flower, fruit, berry, and nut, we encourage a certain output, a certain reach, a certain spread. From what do we live, you ask? Well, we do not need the industry and money systems of your surface. We have clothing and household goods. We have homes and schools and places of worship and greeting. Yes, we have buildings and cities and roads. Do we sleep in flowers curled up like small babies waiting to be soaked by the morning dew, as in your fairy stories? We have society. We live simply, but with intent and purpose. We were here first, earth caretakers, spinners of the natural world, our playthings, the plants and trees and animals. And do we speak and communicate with other members of the soil, you ask? With the rocks and the metals and the crystals? Each of these with consciousness speaks in its own way, just as the whales, the great beasts of the ocean, hold great intelligence, populating the oceans for their own purpose of expansion. The memory holders of love and compassion, seeing the arc of human experience for what it has become, brief, yet holding true to the template for this world. much as we do in our wild places. But the crystals are cosmic beings, dust of stars, miraculous flowerings of basic matter building, forming extraordinary shapes and flowers and colors deep within the soil. We are not of their realm, but like water, we correspond with their collective minds. They too store and amplify. The earth energy systems are based upon their populations. Nestled within her skin, the earth sanctuaries their communities. Musical instruments of transmission, colors, density, formation, mineral content, influence the song venturing forth from the earth herself. Her breath passes through their families and spreads out into the atmosphere, the soil being the skin on this drum. We speak and transmit through these networks. The hyperspeed transport you have heard of is made possible by this energetic framework. Energy is both stored and released, and we borrow some of this as our vehicles pass each crystal bed by. Technology and us, a question you raise frequently. How do we integrate technology and nature? How do we speak with spirits of tree and plant? How do you? You set yourself to a quiet internal state of receptivity, and then from there reach towards the living essence of whatever it is you wish to communicate with. The resonance you tap into is your intention materialized. From that point, you can feel or clairaudiently hear or clairvoyantly see and receive information. We differ in that we see and hear more clearly. We have less disturbance in the transmission. And as we attune ourselves to the soul essence with greater ease. This is why we are difficult for you to see. We are attuned to a higher range on the electromagnetic frequency spectrum. Back to technology and us. For what do we use tech? Our vehicles. Some of our harvesting and food production is aided by this. You hear these terms, advanced civilization, blanket assertions covering all, telling little. Our scale bewilders you still, but wait until you see more with your friend, and that will clear many of your mind muddles. So that was that session. Now, I would recommend you go and have a look at a couple of the JP talks. There was one recently on Patriot Street Fighter on Rumble. I'll put that link. There was one from a year ago with Dr. Michael Sala, and that's great, where he describes meeting a king, the ant king, who he was bowled over, I think, by his energy. And then there are 2-year-old pieces, which are really interesting too. And then, yes, go and reference Corey Good's stuff. Even though he was in a mess, there is some information there. And I will pepper this video with the illustrations that are pouring out of me of the technology, the flying bikes, I like to call them, and the living environment. It turns out that I've been to one of these homes before when I was doing some remote viewing on the way showers. Seems like they're the same people. So they are underneath us in many places, in most places. This earth is a honeycomb. And whether you're in Glastonbury or the woods on the Mendip Hills, or whether you're in Florida and inaccessibly beautiful spring areas, you will find that there is access and movement between their realms and our realms. So many names, fairy, pixie, ant people. You decide. There is so much that has been folded over in our minds. If you see a dragonfly flying, Yvette got a dragonfly wing as one of the symbol. We are used to thinking of fairies of that size because we know somehow there are beings that fly, and we know there are dragonflies that are beautiful. So we've put them together as a way of comprehending. Before we had the technology of flying cars, probably the secret space program has that already. Right now, we have a few YouTube excerpts. You can go and look at little flying vehicles that are not aeroplanes. Now we have that. Think 100 years ago, of course, fairies were shown with wings. It makes sense, just like angels with big feathered wings. It's because they're beings who fly. Think of Ezekiel with the angel in the fiery flying wheel that rotated craft. Yeah, we have to use what we are used to. That's the mental paradigm. And then we go from there. Once more to the fairy pixie and the ant people. Let us just look a little more. You have the Telos Nordics, which are aligned, affiliated to an extent with the reptilians. They were part of your seeding. Yes, you have the ant people. You have these ancient, very tall beings, the Hyperborean giants, on a different dimensional plane, some of which have left some of their footprint here, like the giant you were listening to about from the JP testimony. Some of them sleeping in various places, arcs themselves of information. This is a living, breathing entity, so hosting many, many essences in her cells. It is a dance, remember, each step is a step. Each thing you do, each word you say, it is a step. You must just trust a little more, dance a little lighter. Imagine a little more spring in your step. All right, thank you very much. All right, very, very nice. I will leave that there. Thank you. And so I did some writing with Elphie because I need to find out more, because this tech that I'm seeing, the technology, it's like it's overlapping with the information on inner earth and other dimensional entities. And I feel that now is the time, seeing as she was saying that they're going to be occupying the same space as us very soon, that we really need to kind of drill down and find out. I want to know precisely what the workings are of how they work with nature. I keep getting more layers of information, but this idea of scale, like it's almost as though they have to be walking through the soil like we walk through the air. That's almost what it feels like dimensionally. And how, God knows how that is possible. But, as a whale will swim through the water and be happy, and we are in the air, we're happy. Why not someone through the soil? But the size of them is also interesting, because the scale that I pick up sometimes starts off, just like a really tiny 1 inch. I've made some drawings. I'm not going to show them to you yet because I don't want to necessarily influence anything. But I thought if we both went in and had a look. Now,
I do a channel.
Okay, so you would. So you could.
Yeah, so I close my eye and they show me bits and pieces, and I just, I'm a channel. I guess so.
So could you handle talking with me at the same time if we're both in that space? Because what I've had before, when I worked with Oksana a little bit like this, basically she was somewhere and I was there with her. So we were both seeing at the same time, which I think could be really, really, really helpful. So should we just try it?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so we just, basically if we use Elphie as point of contact, she seems to have a partner who I've named Argo. But we could just, go in and see what she is, because, she's had lots of inquisitive questions coming from my direction. So she will be prepared for this, and she kind of knows I'm excited about it.
So I need a point of reference, like a picture or a something that I can connect into.
Then let's use this, which is the flying bike. Let's use the flying bike, because that's what's so,
Right, this is the
bizarre. Okay.
Oh, I see. Yes, that's the one you posted.
Yeah.
Nice.
It seems to be, a decent mixture of all the images I've seen.
Okay.
Do you want to see it?
Let's see how we go.
I can just hold it here if you want for now.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. It's a good thing it's just us. Okay.
So they're coming through in different dimensions, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah. I've got kind of like two things wavering between. So
yeah, it's like wavy.
Yeah.
Wavy,
so
wavy
should we see if we can get any information about that dimensionality? Because I think that's really very important if we can.
Okay, I'm not sure.
See if we can tweak it up.
Coming here, do you know?
Yeah, that you see the things they've been saying is that they were here before us. They were, part of the Earth Gardeners, sort of forming the planet. So it's like they've always been here, almost.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the impression I'm getting. Okay, what happens when I say ant people?
Well, they were around when the Native Americans, weren't they? Native Americans had them.
Yes,
on the ant people.
Yeah.
I don't know much about them, actually.
I just came across them again recently. And it just felt that could be who they actually are, that the Fae are the ant people, that the ant people were these early first beings on the planet, different dimensionality, but that there were times in history when that overlap was enabled, that we could actually tangibly see them and interact, just as they was saying to me that would come again fairly soon.
Yeah, all I'm picking up at the moment is like this wavy.
Are you getting? I'm getting like a blue-green again for that for the color of that. Like a sort of like two. It's almost like two parallel lines, and one is like highlighted kind of pale blue on the top, and one more like pale green underneath. And it's yes, okay. So maybe we can ask them if they can amp up, because just got a bit of a rush of energy there. Amp up the energy that we can enter a little bit, because what she was showing me was that it's very difficult to work with, of course, our paradigm, our mindset, which is trying to introduce. But you're an adept at this. So now I just okay. What did you get?
Just do a little squiggle while you're talking.
Yeah.
This is how I can bring these beings through. They're quite cool, aren't they?
Yeah, there is that. I seem to get a shorter version and a taller version.
Okay, well, I've got one of the tall ones, quite tall. And the face is almost like, can you see that?
Interesting. Because I've got that sort of, that triangularity a little bit too, but I was picking up antenna, which that's hence the ant people, but I was wondering whether that was tech, in fact, rather than natural.
That's it, but
the
antennas there.
And when you got that, I got a wave of like a blue dress, which was Elphie getting off her flying gear, but it was just sort of flowing, like almost like like blue silk would just sort of flow. So kind of a watery, feminine kind of energy too. Now I've just got Syrian though, of course, jumped into my head because of blue. But let's just see if we can get, because that guy didn't look human, did he? More like people would talk about the mantis, more insectoid.
Yes, it's more sort of a mantis shape
with that long nose. Yeah.
I can't even see a nose on mine.
For me, it's more like I see like a long bridge of a nose curving into a mouth. Like there's almost no change. It's like a sort of almost like an elephant snout before it goes into the long trunk. That kind of bridge bump over the forehead, and then it kind of curves out where we got our smile lines. That all forms into the nose mouth. Sort of a kind of that shape. So this thing with, I think they are the fairies, and you know, all these levels of fairy, pixie, gnome, fairy, elf, that all of those beings that live in the earth are different fairies in terms of the way we've described them. You getting anything on that?
Yes, there's many different. It's like us, the humans. There's we're different. You know, we've got the Chinese and we've got the Mongolians, and so same with the fairies and whatnot. The elemental realm.
Yeah.
There's so many different species out there.
This is the problem, isn't it? Because we've got such, you know, tiny snippets of information. And we're, you know, we're attempting to make some kind of geographical reference here. Should we see if we can focus in on the tech? Because the information I was getting, it's biological tech, like we've heard before with spaceships, that certain humans with psychic ability can go in and interact with the spaceship and fly it, because the spaceship itself is sentient. I'm getting the idea that all of their technology is organically structured. It's somehow, rather than, you know, we make our stuff out of silica and metal, that they may make it out of, you know, silica and metal, but in a very different way, that it's almost like growing like a crystal will grow. It seems to be that much more organically interfaced.
Yeah, it's like the organic covering that is almost alive. It's like a cover.
Yeah, I like that. Okay.
But you cover something over, but it's actually alive. So yeah, it's organic.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Okay, good. I'm glad you picked up on the cover, because I kind of got that from my Zog books with the computer pods, that everyone has one, but it's like it's almost part of your body, but it's not like the Neuralink, not like Elon Musk's let's implant nanochips, but there is an interface of nerval reaction between the body and the computer itself. Okay, yeah, I like it.
Feel like you are one.
Yes.
They are one.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Brilliant. So it's like having a sort of, here's my dream from last night, and you can show it.
Yeah.
So what about, see if we can get to this thing of, now we're sort of slightly accessing something. You know, for us, the earth is a solid thing, although, you know, we know of many stories of it, of having many, many hollows. Are they actually living in the hollows, or are they actually in the fiber of the soil and the rock because of a different dimensionality? I wonder if we can find out anything there.
Okay, let me see. Because before you asked that question, I had drawn a mountain.
You'd drawn a what?
Mountain.
Ah, okay.
So whether they have something to do with the mountains, and this mountain looks like it has snow on the top of it.
Oh, okay. So let's go and look at Mount Shasta. So underneath Mount Shasta is Telos. Is that where they live? Is it those sort of places?
It looks like it.
So that would be, yeah, I mean, you know, these inner earth beings that various people have looked at. So I'm going to show you another drawing then. Okay, I will dare to do that now.
Yeah.
So I've done drawings like this before with my Zog stories when I was talking about the combination of them and us. But can you see that?
Yes, I can, yes.
Now, does that bring anything?
Wow. Mine was a little bit different, but you've got more detail.
Yeah, because this is like underneath that mountain, basically.
Mine was a little mountain.
Yeah. No, that's why it's so cool to do it together. Yeah, because I'm making illustrations for Ellie's children's book. So yeah, okay. Let's see if we can talk to them precisely about this. Or, you know, any kind of reference of their living homes, because that will just help. The fact that when I started making my Zog stories, transmissions from the planet Zog, which, you know, I knew was us, but I started drawing those, and this is now, you know, 13 years ago. And it would make sense that it's the same people, really, because they've been turning up as orbs in the landscape for a while for me. I got some funny comments on that video. I did, I can tell you. Some lovely ones, and then some other people just being, interesting. But there's
A lot of people don't. A lot of people don't understand. They have no idea.
it's scary for them, isn't it? Because it would shape. They just got to say, "Oh no, it's lens flare." And see that these amazing shapes. There's no way that those organic shapes can be lens flare. Are you crazy? So this thing of them coming through into our reality on their vehicles. The question is the why. Everything I've spoken to her about, it seems like what they do is they gather the minerals. If one area of soil, let's just say it's a forest, hardly trod on by humans, national park or something, and there is a zone that certain plants want to grow in, but they realize they need more copper in the soil. So then they will literally kind of herd, they use that word herd, certain small little arthropods from a distance to come and settle in that area so that their dead bodies then become the copper source for those plants. That's the sort of organization that they're doing. I wonder whether they're doing that from above or from below or from in the soil. I don't know why I really want to know this, whether they kind of walk through the soil. So that kind of dimensionality, like, a ghost, an astral body can walk through anything because of its lightness, whether they are just walking through soil, because the earth could have this huge dimensional shift as you go down deeper from all things I've read as well, so that their existence might be in a very kind of light space beneath the mountain, where it's a much different dimensionality from us, so that when they're walking through the soil, it's just like walking through a foggy day for us. I almost wonder, how deep are they? Okay, what about we just ask her to talk through you for a moment and I shut up and just give you some amplitude. Should we see if that will work? Yeah, that's a good chuckle.
Let's have a look.
Yeah.
See, what I see is that different wave. It's quite wavy. So whether they just, like you said, they go through, like we go through a mist, and they sort of waver on through. I just keep seeing the waving.
Okay, then something comes into me. The Radio Cinema books about Inner Earth, there is this transition plane that only a few humans can actually sort of survive going through, but it's literally like you see in Stargate series or something. It's like a watery portal, and you go through, and then there's a second one. It's like two locks of dimensionality, and I think that's what they're describing. It's the first one and the second one. That feels absolutely to me too. Okay, that's why it's hard to access, really, isn't it? But you and I are of that essence. I think that you and I both have some of this, let's just call it DNA for want of a better word at the moment, of these beings. The other day when I wanted to talk to her, and I was talking about something else first, AI, and then it was like she kind of hit me like a warm nudge. It was like, and then I just got this very nice energy in my whole body. But it was, the way a cat will just get, hey, I want something from you.
Yeah.
I kind of got that from her, which was an interesting way to kind of communicate, kind of bumping into me. It's just about making bridges. This is the thing. Because if we understand what they do, we will take care of our planet better. This is the point.
Right. So, the point is to get across to the other people, isn't it?
Yeah.
Driving them out of way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like banging you against the brick wall.
And that's why it's important to link into what's known already in the whole kind of UAP organization. So the ant people seems to be resonating quite well. I'll have to do some more research just on what's out there on that. Yeah, a young Spanish guy who's a pilot for one of the secret military ops through Dr. Michael Sala. Really sweet young man, speaks Spanish and Portuguese and English, and had his face masked to protect him still. But he's met quite a lot of different beings, but he was talking about the ant people, and it was like, oh, It'll be them.
Yeah.
And that Hopi thing, because I don't know about you, I've got very strong roots to the Hopi too. So that's probably why that resonance is there.
Yes, it probably is. So, I don't think I've connected with the ant people before.
Okay, cool.
This is the first time.
Right. Yeah, because you're something else.
I am something else.
Yeah. God knows what you're called. I love you anyway. She's something else.
As my dad used to say. Yes, you're something else. Yes. Yes.
In all the most beautiful ways. Okay, why don't we ask her about building this bridge of understanding? Because it's hard for us to get into their world, but they could come through us and explain how we can. It's this bridge between the human mind and them, so we can start accessing, referencing, accepting a little bit more the little threads of existence we've got hidden away in places. So, okay, I just saw one of those cave drawings of the Hopi. Where they have the ant people. I just saw that. That's good. So what about, why is it that I called them a fairy? And how do they fit into that? Because I'm getting people who are adamant that Tinkerbell exists, and fairies have wings. And I'm not so very sure whether they have wings. I had that feeling that maybe sometimes they have wings. They don't necessarily fly with them. They're more like when you're excited, you flutter up and down, like we will jump, but they'll have a sort of more like a 12-foot jump with the little fluttery wings, but they don't really fly with them. That's what I was getting. Are you getting anything there? Can you see?
Yeah. I think what I'm feeling at the moment, now that I've made the connection with the ant people in there, I think I can do a little bit more in my quiet time.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to, now I've made the connection, I can connect in a little bit more in my time. Okay,
let's do that, because that's the purpose of this, isn't it? Just making connections and bridges.
Which is quite good. While I'm talking to you, I'm just doodling.
There's also a connection with the weather that they want to talk about. Because I got this brilliant quote, which I can't get to now because it's on this computer. But they were talking about, they're having to deal with the artificial wind and the artificial rain and the artificial seeds, like the Monsanto seeds, the weather manipulation. And that's part of what they want to be talking about. Yeah. The question is actually almost the why of it. They seem to just live quite a nice, happy, peaceful life. Yes. And they do kind of keep the planet and prepare it. That's what they do. That's their job. Whereas, we'll make jewelry and cars for our livings. They sort of, look after earth, soil, whatever, rock. But the why of the interaction with us, I don't think it's only because there are nasty beings manipulating the weather and planting stupid genetically modified seeds, but there is also some sort of brotherhood with us that is wanting to be reenacted, re-established, because that's something.
Re-established,
yeah, some kind of soul yearning, something.
Yes, it feels like something coming. How can I put it?
It's also the structure of the way we live, the way we've lived.
It's pretty bad if you ask me.
Yeah. I mean, I had someone criticize me for saying that they'd named the author Ewan Koifer and yet called our computers black boxes. And I said, well, it was symbolic, of course. Of course they would know someone who would write about them. But the black boxes is because it's like the Saturn cube matrix of our computer system that we've all adhered to so dogmatically. And it's almost like they're going to be helping us to break out of that into something else.
Right.
Something to do with the signals are really annoying them as well, like a high pressure. It's like they're fed up of being pressed down by that black cube.
Yeah.
What are you getting?
I just went off somewhere else.
Yeah, no, but the going off somewhere else is the perfect. It's always the whispers, as you know, those side whispers. That's what where the information is.
No, anywhere.
You just whizzed off somewhere. Where did you whiz? Where did you whiz off? Somewhere far away. Did you just whiz off to somewhere in space? Did you? Yeah, because that's to do with the heritage. That means it's where they came from.
Ah, right.
Yes. So what was that?
Yeah. Where? What?
When you just whizzed off, it's like you just whizzed off planet somewhere briefly, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yes, so that was them. That was where they come from, or something about a signal. It was something about their origin or the signal or something to do with the way we work together, resonance together, humans and they. Now I've just seen a massive spaceship for some bizarre reason, like a really enormous round one. Well, it started off as a metal-looking spaceship because, of course, it's got to go with pictures, and then it turned into almost like a movable sun, which was interesting.
Oh, I've been on a spaceship. Have you been on a spaceship?
No, well, not that I remember.
You had a great time.
Did you? Well, tell me what it was like. Can you describe it? Was it kind of organic shapes, or was it? I bet it was.
No.
Was it more?
It was definitely sterile.
Oh, really? Oh, it's
yeah.
icky.
It was really interesting because I stepped on, and I couldn't see the beings, but I could hear them, and they were really, really lovely. They were going, shh,
oh, were those Arcturians? They've got big heads, those people. I think they're just...
It's fine, though. Fine. Anyway,
just skipping around, right off the end. Skipping around the spaceship.
Hopeless humanoid.
Well, I hope that... No, because remember, everything is correct the way it happens. So sometimes, these weird things, bring it in. I think what you could do is to go into their homes.
Honey, I just drew a home.
Yeah. Okay, because this is going to help. Your testament of being in the home will be able to marry up with, I'm not going to reference who they are, but it will marry up with the testimonials of some other people. And this is how we are able to build this bridge. So can you do it now? Because I'm just in a home right now. I don't know if you can go into one, and I've been into this house before.
Okay, pop into a home?
Yeah.
Let's have a look. No, I'm going to have to do a bit more concentration and a bit more commitment,
I think. On your own, yeah.
Since I've got the picture of the ant person here with me, I can.
Okay. Well, should we just leave it there and then just see what goes from here?
Yeah.
Because
I think what I'll do is take the information. The connection's been made, so I can connect it and see what I get from it.
Yeah. Okay. And also, I'm going to put one last thing in before we go.
Yeah.
And that is that. Right. So the only person who was really seeing these people very clearly, his work was completely ridiculed.
Everyone.
Yeah, because he was entity riddled he was attacked by all kinds of stuff. I think he'd been divided up anyway on a soul level, so it was very easy to smash with his mind again. And it meant that all his information was kind of hidden away in a closet again. And yet I studied his work a few years ago, and it seems to give me access. Like right now, when I said I'd go into the home, I've now looked out of the window and could really see the landscape of their living in a much clearer way than before. And so I think it's because that testimonial from him was so completely dissed it's that's why it's important to reestablish the connection again, because obviously certain interested parties wanted that to be completely, destroyed, ridiculed.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so,
it won't be.
yeah.
It
Okay.
won't be.
Okay, I'll do some drawings as well. And then, because it's quite late for you, isn't it? It's because I know how early you wake up. Yeah, but you wake up so early.
Makes it a long day when the cat wakes up at 4 o'clock.
I know. I know.
And then broken sleeps, and it's like, oh my god, okay, it's been a bit of a trial this week, to say the least.
Really? You've had some weird people? Have you had some weird people to deal with? Or is it just
no,
your?
no.
But it felt like you were mourning. You were mourning your mama this week. I felt like, or a dear friend.
Yeah, I'm mourning all my family. And when I got left with my sister, it was like really quite hard before Christmas, isn't it? It's just kind of like, I know you're all there.
Yeah.
But you're not physical, I can't actually touch you.
But they might, I mean, I bet you've had this. I remember I was lying down once and I was just feeling so rubbish. And anyway, so I called in someone and she came in and my whole arm was electrified. Just every single hair stood on end because she'd actually touched me from spirit. It was just bizarre, but a physical touching is like,
yeah, people have, or the ant person has, the ant being has come in as an ant being as we can recognize them, because I feel like they're actually coming back as a vibration, and I just keep seeing this vibration around them, but they are the vibration, and that's what they're doing. They're helping with the vibration. They are in another dimension. I don't think they're still here, but they're coming, from another dimension. I just get that other dimension. I don't think, I could be wrong, but I don't feel that they're still living here, sort of thing, underground, like they did back in the day. I think they have gone and they are coming back, but they're coming back as a different vibration, but they've come in for us to see them as the ant people because we know them as ant people, whereas if they just came in as a vibration, we wouldn't be able to figure out who they were unless your hearing was really good. Mine's not that good, but I assume also. They also showed me a dragonfly. I'm not quite sure what that is. I get the feeling man has disrupted the vibration of the planet, but Mother Earth works through this. She's fine. They just seem to be helping with the vibration. It's very much a vibrational thing with these beings. They come back in a vibration. They're not coming back as people as they did back in the day, sort of thing. It's a lot about vibration here and what they're helping with, but you probably know that. But that's what I've picked up today.